She walked into that hospital alone, no husband, no family, just a small bag and a broken heart. But what happened in that delivery room didn't just change her life. It shattered everyone in it. Subscribe to Soul of Kindness for more heart-touching stories. It was a cold Tuesday morning in Cincinnati when Claire Matthews, 26 years old, checked herself into St. Mary's General Hospital. She had no one beside her, no hand to hold, just a worn-out duffel bag, a fake smile for the nurses, and 9 months of silence hiding a secret she had never told a single soul. The nurses were kind. They asked about her husband. She said he was on his way. He wasn't. He had left 7 months ago. The same night she told him she was pregnant. He packed a bag, said he needed space, and never came back. Claire had cried for 3 weeks straight. Then she stopped crying. She learned to carry the weight alone. She found a small apartment. She worked double shifts at a diner until her feet swelled. She saved every dollar. She talked to her baby every night, pressing her palm to her belly, whispering, "I will never leave you, ever." The labor was long and painful. 12 hours. Claire gripped the bed rails so hard her knuckles turned white. The nurses encouraged her. The monitors beeped. And finally, at 3:17 in the afternoon, a baby boy entered the world. The room filled with that first beautiful cry. Claire collapsed back against the pillow, tears streaming down her face. "Is he okay?" She kept asking. "Is he okay?" The nurse smiled warmly and said, "He's perfect, sweetheart. Absolutely perfect." They cleaned the baby and wrapped him in a white blanket. They were about to hand him to Claire when the attending doctor, Dr. Richard Hale, a man in his late 50s with steady hands and a calm voice, walked in to check the delivery report. He took one routine look at the baby and froze. The nurses noticed first. Dr. Hale's clipboard slipped slightly in his hand. His face, always composed, always professional, went pale. His eyes filled with something no one in that room had ever seen before: tears. A senior nurse stepped closer. "Dr. Hale, are you all right?" He didn't answer. He just stared at the baby boy, at the tiny face, the shape of the nose, the small birthmark just below the left ear. Claire sat up, alarmed. "What's wrong? What's wrong with my son?" Dr. Hale finally spoke. His voice came out barely above a whisper. "Where is the father of this child?" Claire's expression hardened. "He's not here. He left." "What is his name?" the doctor asked. Claire hesitated. "Why? What does that have to do with anything?" Dr. Hale looked at her with eyes full of grief and said quietly, "Please." "His name. I need to know his name." Claire swallowed hard. Daniel Hale." The room went completely silent. The doctor closed his eyes. One single tear ran down his cheek. "Daniel Hale," he repeated slowly, "is my son." The nurse gasped. Claire's breath caught in her throat. For a moment, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The only sound was the soft whimpering of the newborn baby, the child who had just connected two strangers in the most devastating way possible. Dr. Hale pulled up a chair and sat down. He looked like a man whose whole world had just rearranged itself. He told Claire everything, how Daniel had cut contact with the family 2 years ago after a terrible argument, how his wife, Daniel's mother, had passed away 8 months ago, heartbroken that her son never came home, how Dr. Hale had spent every day since then searching, calling, hoping. Claire listened in silence. Tears were running down her face now, not from pain but from something heavier, something that felt like grief and relief all at once. Over the next hour, the story unfolded piece by piece. Daniel, charming, troubled, running from everything he'd ever been given, had met Claire at a coffee shop 18 months ago. He had never told her about his family, never mentioned a father who was a doctor, a mother who lit candles every Sunday hoping he'd walk through the door. He had built a whole new life on silence and lies. And when Claire told him about the pregnancy, he ran again, just like he always did. Dr. Hale listened to every word. His hands were clasped tightly in his lap. When Claire finished, he looked at his grandson, still wrapped in that white blanket. Tiny fists curled near his face, and he said softly, He has his grandmother's nose. And Claire, through her tears, let out a broken laugh. Because in the middle of all this pain, that one sentence was the most human thing she had ever heard. Before Dr. Hale left that evening, he stopped at the door and turned around. "You said you have no one," he said to Claire. She nodded slowly. "That's not true anymore," he said. "That little boy in your arms, he is my family. And so are you." Claire stared at him. She had spent 9 months building walls against hope, against trust, against anyone who might leave again. But something in this old doctor's eyes was different. It wasn't pity. It wasn't obligation. It was love. Quiet, steady, unconditional love. She looked down at her son, then back at Dr. Hale. "I don't even know what to call him yet," she admitted. Dr. Hale smiled for the first time, a small, heartbroken smile. "My wife's name was Margaret. We always called her Maggie." Claire looked at her baby for a long moment. Then she whispered, "Hi, baby. I think your name is James. James Hale Matthews." 3 weeks later, Dr. Hale found Daniel. He was living in a motel in Columbus, working odd jobs, barely getting by. Dr. Hale drove there alone. He sat across from his son in a dim motel room and placed a single photograph on the table between them, a photo of a newborn baby boy. Daniel stared at it. His face changed, slowly, the way ice begins to crack before it breaks completely. "His name is James," Dr. Hale said. "He has your mother's nose, and he has a mother who worked double shifts through her whole pregnancy, so he'd never go without." Daniel didn't speak for a long time. "I'm not good enough," he finally said. "I never was." Dr. Hale leaned forward. "You don't get to decide that anymore. You're a father now, and being good enough isn't something you're born with. It's something you choose. Every single day." He slid a piece of paper across the table. It was Claire's address. "Your mother never stopped believing you'd come home," Dr. Hale said, standing to leave. "Don't make me bury that hope with her." 2 months later, on a quiet Sunday morning, there was a knock at Claire's door. She opened it, and there was Daniel, older-looking, thinner, eyes red like he hadn't slept in days. He was holding a small stuffed bear in his hands, gripping it like it was the only thing keeping him upright. He didn't say a word at first. He just looked at her, really looked at her, and in his eyes she saw something she had never seen before, shame, regret, and something fragile, like a man standing at the very edge of becoming better. "I don't deserve to be here," he said. "No," Claire replied quietly. "You don't." There was silence. Then, from the small crib in the corner of the room, baby James made a soft sound, a tiny gurgle, a fist waving at nothing. Daniel's face broke completely. Claire stepped aside, not because she forgave him, not yet, but because there was a little boy in that room who deserved a chance to know his father, and she was strong enough to give him that chance, even when it cost her something. Daniel walked in slowly, knelt beside the crib, and looked at his son for the very first time. He pressed 2 fingers gently to James's tiny palm, and James, without knowing any of it, wrapped his whole fist around them and held on tight. Some people leave because they're afraid of becoming someone worth staying for. But sometimes life sends them back, through a hospital room, through a photograph, through the grip of a newborn's hand, and gives them one last chance to finally be brave enough to stay. Claire didn't need saving. She saved herself. All she did was leave the door open. And that is the most powerful thing a person can do.